book people! Today I wanted to talk about my 2014 reading resolutions. As you probably know, every year Goodreads has the little thing on the sidebar that's your own personal reading challenge. Every year I set a reading challenge for myself, and every year I fail to meet this challenge. To that end, my first reading resolution of 2014 is to make more reasonable reading resolutions. I thought I would start with a smaller number, which is 14 reading resolutions for 2014. But then I thought of one more at the last minute. So there's 15 reading resolutions that I have for 2014. Here they are in no order. First, this is my last semester of college. I'm writing my thesis and taking a lot of lit classes, which I love. My first resolution is to read every book that I'm assigned for class. I realize that might sound like really intuitive to most people, like, well, duh, why wouldn't you? But this last semester, I definitely had some issues with figuring out how to best strategize reading all the books you have to read for a lit class, on top of researching and doing a thesis and all that other stuff. So, book goal number one, make like a better reading schedule and stick to it, I guess. So, this year we're going to read all the books assigned for class. I own way more books than I've ever read because I just kind of collect them and I'm like, oh, this looks good. I'm going to read it soon. And then soon never comes. This nonsense has got to stop. I have too many books for them not to be read. So, book goal number two, make a dent in the reading of my own book collection. I will, of course, track all of them on Goodreads. And I did set a Goodreads goal. Last year I set it 30 and I read like 22 books. Ugh, so close. So I'm just going to stick with 30 again because if we meet it, we meet it. If we don't, we don't. Book goal number three, finish Anna Karenina. I seriously started reading Anna Karenina when I was in 10th grade in high school. I'm about to graduate from college. That's like 6 years. In 10th grade, I checked this out from the school library. I always returned it late because I was so convinced every time that that would be the time I was going to read it. And I'm convinced that me trying to read Anna Karenina and never turning it in on time is why my high school librarian quit charging me library fines. She was like, at least she's trying. So the one good thing that has come out of my struggle to finish this book in a timely manner is that for 11th and 12th grades of high school, I didn't have to pay my library fines. Towards the end of high school, my granny got a copy and suggested we read it together. Granny finished it in a weekend. I am still on chapter 10. So in desperation, when I left for college, I bought myself the Spark Notes. This is real. I bought the Spark Notes for fun. And I've finished neither of them. So this year, 2014 is going to be the year, people. Put an end to this nonsense. I'm gonna read Anna Karenina. Number four, actually meet my Goodreads goal. Gonna read those 30 books. Number five, this year I want to stretch myself a little bit and try 3 new genres. I'm going to try to read 1 book in each of the following. Contemporary young adult. I have read like contemporary young adult, but just not in a really long time, and I can tell that I'm missing out on a lot of cool things. So Rainbow Rowell, I'm looking at you. I'm gonna try this dystopian thing. I'm not typically a fan of like fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, like all of those, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read Divergent. Is that what it's called? A bunch of my friends in real life are raving about it, as are people on BookTube, so I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna trust you guys that it's gonna be good. Lastly, I'm going to either try historical fiction or fantasy. I might try Ruby Red because it looks like that's a good combo of both. Am I right? I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about it, so I'm going to try it. You guys are inspiring me. Number 6, on a related note, I'm finally going to read Hunger Games. Don't hate me. I've never read Hunger Games. I've never seen it. Again, see my disinterest in dystopia. So, it's about time. My dad has read it. He's read all 3, so I'm gonna read Hunger Games. Maybe me and my pops will do a book chat about it. All right, number 7, speaking of library fines, my goal this year is to not have any library fines. When I return to college, I'm going to pay the $3.45 that I owe, whoops, and then I'm going to keep it down. Number 8, speaking of libraries, I have 4 more months to enjoy my university library before I graduate and leave that town forever. So I'm resolving to do more of my aforementioned reading for class in the library. It's a beautiful library. There's really nice like armchairs by a skylight that's beautiful in the evenings. I'm going to sit there more so I can enjoy being in the library. and it'll also help me achieve my number one goal, which is to read every book I have to read for class. Number 9. I have made myself a little reading list. Where did it go? Looking through all my papers. Okay, I whipped this up. This very official piece of paper is going to be my guide for 2014 reading. I'll probably start filling this out over the summer because I won't have a lot of time before then. But I've made myself a little list for like May through December, and I'm going to try to read one book from my Goodreads shelves, like my unread shelves, a month. And I'm also going to try to read one of the BBC Top 100 books a month. Here we go again, making ambitious goals, but we're gonna try it. I also even left myself a little tally to like mark down all the books I read for class so I can be pleased with myself. Number 10. I've mentioned before that this is the year I'm branching into new authors. A side note, I realize a lot of you by now might be wondering, why are you an English major that has not read like these really basic authors? And that's because my major within School of English is criticism, so I've been taking way more like theory and philosophy type classes than read a book lit classes. I'm excited to finally get to that literature stuff. That lit class is just not a whole lot, so I'm trying to stock up before I graduate. And after that, I'll just read on my own. So, number 10 is another new author for me. I'm finally going to read John Green. I know. Where have I been? Living in a pineapple under the sea, obviously. Number 11, I'm going to start up my book journal again. When I was in high school, I had a book journal. And at one time I had it on this desk, and I no longer do. I'm going to do a separate video about it anyway, so it's fine. So anyway, used to book journal. I would write down, basically in this notebook, I would do what Goodreads is for. I would mark what I'm reading or who I lend stuff to or what I want to read, etc., etc. And there's something about that I really like. When I was visiting my grandpa, the one that let me empty out his bookshelves, he told me that he has kept a book for years, a notebook where every time he finishes something, he just writes it down. That's a book I would love to have someday. So I got this lovely book journal. The graphic design students at my school made these. They are like hardcover books that they've repurposed into notebooks. So this is going to be my book journal this year. Yay! Number 12. Since I've done all this stuff with criticism, but I don't write a whole lot, like for funsies, I'm going to be better about writing quick little reviews on my Goodreads. Number 14. Maybe keep up with BookTube. I like doing this, but all the videos I've made on Christmas break, while I don't really have as much homework to be doing. So I would like to continue this. I'm not making any promises. I don't really know if it'll work out. We'll see. But that's going to be a goal, to maybe maintain this, and if not to maintain my own videos, to keep watching yours. Last but not least, this is a totally random and just like really personal book goal. I'm in town. I work in a museum. That means once a day, I spend a little bit of time in the coat check closet helping everyone get settled and unsettled as I enter and leave the museum. And you're allowed to read while you're in there, like between patrons, and there's a little stack of books that we always keep back there, and I'm going to read those books this year. Instead of bringing my own, I'm going to start this in May too, because right now I'm bringing books that I need to be reading for school, and I read them when I have a few downtime moments. So they are, there's a 20th century art history book. I love 20th century art. There is a book that is the 100 greatest operas, and they're all really short to read, so I'm going to read the operas. And oh, Undaunted Courage, the Lewis and Clark book. So we'll see if I get to any of those, but that's a reading goal that I have. There it is. There's my 2014 reading goals. I can't wait to see how everyone does on maintaining their goals. And you know what? If you don't make them, there's always next year, right? That's what I said last year as I typed in my 22nd book for 2013 and felt a little sad. Here's to reading 30 books in 2014. Have a good day. I'll see you on the flippity flip.